there are nights when silence feels louder than words. When you stare at your phone, hoping my name might appear one more time, and, maybe, right now, whilst you're listening to this, your heart still remembers us the same way mine does, because real love doesn't disappear in a single goodbye, it lingers. In late-night thoughts, in old memories, in the small moments that refuse to fade away. My love. If you're listening to this, then maybe destiny hasn't finished writing our story yet. Maybe two hearts that once loved each other this deeply were never meant to become strangers. And tonight, I'm not here to force you to stay, I'm only here to remind you that somewhere in this world there is still a soul who never stopped loving you. There are some people who walk into your life quietly and somehow change the entire meaning of your existence, without even trying. You were that person for me. Before you, life felt ordinary. The days passed without color, without depth, without something real to hold on to. I smiled sometimes, I laughed sometimes, but deep inside, something always felt incomplete. Then you arrived, and suddenly even silence felt beautiful. You didn't just become someone I loved, you became the place where my tired soul finally felt understood. The world could be loud, cruel, exhausting. But whenever I thought about you, it felt like coming home after wandering for years. And maybe that's why losing you never felt normal to me. Because how do you simply move on from the one person who made life feel alive again? People say time heals everything. They say distance teaches us how to let go. But I think some connections are simply too deep to disappear. Some souls recognize each other in ways words can never explain. And even after all this time, after all the silence between us, there's still a part of me that believes our story was never meant to end this way. I know life became complicated. I know pain entered places where love once lived. Maybe we both got tired. Maybe we both said things we didn't fully mean. Maybe pride stood between two hearts that were secretly begging each other to stay. But love, real love, doesn't vanish because of broken moments. It remains hidden inside memories, inside old conversations, inside sleepless nights, when the heart becomes too honest to lie anymore. Sometimes I wonder if you still think about me the way I think about you, if certain songs still remind you of us, if you ever stop in the middle of a busy day because something suddenly brings back my voice in your mind. Maybe you try to ignore it. Maybe you pretend those feelings no longer exist, but deep down, I wonder if your heart still remembers what we were, before the world complicated everything, because mine does. Mine remembers the way your presence could calm storms inside me without effort. It remembers how your laughter sounded softer than music. It remembers those little moments no one else would understand. The random conversations. The late night confessions, the way time moved differently whenever we were together. Those memories don't leave me. They stay quietly inside my soul like unfinished sentences waiting for their ending. And, honest, I tried to move forward. I tried telling myself that maybe this was just another chapter that ended too soon. I tried convincing my heart to accept the silence between us. But some nights became heavier than others. Some nights your absence sat beside me so loudly that I couldn't even breathe properly. Because when love is real, forgetting isn't simple. It's not a switch you turn off. It's learning how to survive, while carrying someone's memory, everywhere you go. There's something painful about loving someone you can no longer reach. You start speaking to them in your mind because reality no longer allows your voice near them. You replay old moments over and over again, hoping somehow the ending changes. You hold on to tiny pieces of them, because they're all you have left. And maybe that sounds foolish to the world. But love has never been logical. Love is emotional, messy, human. And my love for you was always real, not perfect, not flawless. But real in the deepest way possible. I never wanted temporary moments with you. I wanted ordinary days. I wanted mornings beside you. I wanted to grow older while learning every new version of your heart. I wanted to stay through the difficult seasons, not just the beautiful ones. Because loving someone isn't only about holding their hand when life feels easy. It's about choosing them even when life becomes complicated. That's why losing you hurt the way it did. It wasn't just heartbreak. It felt like losing a future I had already built inside my mind. Suddenly the dreams disappeared. The little plans disappeared. The comfort disappeared. And I was left standing inside memories that no longer had a place to go. But even then, even after everything, I couldn't hate you. I tried sometimes. I tried turning the pain into anger because anger feels easier than sadness. But every time I remembered your eyes, your voice, the softness hidden behind your walls, the anger disappeared. Because the truth is, love like ours leaves fingerprints on the soul. And no matter how far people go, some part of them always belongs to the person they truly loved. Maybe that's why I'm speaking to you now. Not to force you back, not to make you feel guilty, but because my heart still believes in us in a quiet, stubborn way. The kind of belief that survives even after disappointment. The kind that whispers, this can't be the end, even when silence says otherwise. I know people change. I know life moves forward whether we're ready or not. But I also know that some connections only happen once in a lifetime, and when you find them, they never fully leave you. You carry them into every room, every lonely night, every future relationship, every dream. They become part of who you are. You became part of who I am. There are moments when I catch myself smiling because of something you once said. Moments when I hear a phrase and instantly remember your voice. Moments when I wish I could tell you about my day because you were the person I wanted to share everything with. It's strange how someone can leave your life physically but still remain present in almost every corner of your heart. And maybe you've changed too. Maybe life has tested you in ways I'll never fully know. Maybe you've cried silently when nobody was watching. Maybe you've pretended to be okay while carrying storms inside your chest. If that's true, I wish I could have been there for you. I wish love had been stronger than whatever pulled us apart. Because despite everything, my heart never stopped wanting your happiness. Even during the moments when mine was breaking because of you, I still prayed life would be gentle with your soul. That's the strange beauty of real love. It doesn't disappear just because things fall apart. Sometimes it becomes quieter, sadder, but it still exists. I think about the version of us that existed before fear entered our hearts, before misunderstandings created distance, before silence replaced conversations. We were softer back then, more hopeful, more honest about how deeply we needed each other, and maybe somewhere beneath all the pain, those versions of us still exist. People often believe endings happen in one dramatic moment, but sometimes endings arrive slowly, one ignored message at a time, one misunderstanding at a time, one silent night at a time, until suddenly two people who once meant everything to each other become strangers pretending they no longer care. And maybe that's the saddest kind of heartbreak of all, because I still care, even now, even after teaching myself how to survive without hearing your voice every day, even after pretending I'm stronger than I actually am, even after all the nights I told myself to stop loving you. My heart still reaches for you, in quiet ways. There's a loneliness that comes from losing the person who understood your soul. It's different from ordinary loneliness. Crowded rooms still feel empty. Happy moments still feel incomplete. You laugh with others but part of your heart notices the absence beside you. And no matter how much time passes, certain people remain irreplaceable. You remain irreplaceable to me. I don't know where life has taken you now. I don't know if you still think about us the same way I do. Maybe you've built new walls around your heart. Maybe you've convinced yourself that leaving was necessary. But if there's still even a small part of you that remembers what we shared, then maybe our story isn't over yet, because real love rarely disappears completely. It waits. Quietly, patiently, beneath pride, beneath pain, beneath time itself, waiting for two hearts to become brave enough to speak honestly again. Waiting for destiny to create another chance. Waiting for healing to soften what heartbreak once destroyed. And if life ever brings you back to me, I wouldn't ask for perfection. I wouldn't ask us to erase the pain. I would only ask for honesty, for vulnerability, for the courage to choose each other again despite everything we survived apart. Because love isn't about never breaking. It's about finding reasons to rebuild together. I still remember the way you once looked at me when words weren't necessary. That look carried warmth, trust, safety, the kind of connection people spend their entire lives searching for. And sometimes I wonder if you remember it too. If somewhere deep inside your heart, you still feel the invisible thread connecting us no matter how far apart we became. Maybe that's why I can't fully say goodbye to you. Because something inside me still feels unfinished, like our souls paused in the middle of a sentence neither of us knew how to complete. And until that feeling disappears, until my heart truly stops reaching for yours, a part of me will continue believing that love this deep deserves another chance. Even after all this time, after all the distance, silence, and broken moments between us, my heart still speaks your name like a prayer whispered into the dark. And maybe that sounds strange to the world. Maybe people would say I should moved on by now, that I should forgotten the same way seasons forget the storms they leave behind. But love doesn't always work that way. Some people leave your life physically, yet their presence stays stitched into your soul so deeply that even time cannot remove them. You were never just another person to me. You were the feeling of warmth after a lifetime of emotional winters. Before you, I had learned how to survive alone. I had learned how to hide pain behind quiet smiles and short conversations. I knew how to act like nothing affected me. But then you came into my life so unexpectedly, and somehow your love reached the parts of me I thought nobody would ever understand. For the first time in a long time, I felt seen. Not for the version of me I showed the world, but for the tired soul underneath it all. You listened to my silence as if it had a voice. You understood my sadness without asking too many questions, and maybe that's why losing you felt like losing a part of myself. Because when someone truly understands your heart, their absence creates a silence that nothing else can fill. There are nights when I still replay our memories in my mind, like old songs that refuse to fade away. I remember the smallest details about you, the way your voice softened when you were emotional. The way your eyes carried hidden storms even when you smiled. The way being close to you made the world feel less heavy. And sometimes I wonder if you remember me, too, if certain places still remind you of us. If certain songs still bring my name quietly into your thoughts when nobody else is around, because despite everything, despite how things ended, I still feel connected to you in ways I can't explain. I tried to let go. Believe me, I tried. I told myself that maybe love alone wasn't enough. Maybe life simply wanted us to walk separate paths. I distracted myself with work, conversations, noise, anything that could silence the ache your absence left inside me. But heartbreak is strange. It waits patiently, in quiet moments. It returns in the middle of the night, when the world grows still. And the heart finally stops pretending. And in those moments, it's always you. Your memory finds me in unexpected ways. Sometimes through a random scent in the air. Sometimes through a late night thought that appears out of nowhere. Sometimes through dreams that feel so real. I wake up reaching for you before reality reminds me that you're gone. But even then, I can't force myself to hate you. I know we hurt each other. I know there were misunderstandings, fears, and moments where we both failed to protect what we had. Love became complicated somewhere along the way. We stopped speaking from the heart, and started speaking from pain. Silence grew between us slowly until it became stronger than the love we were trying to hold on to. And maybe that's the tragedy of two people who genuinely care for each other but lose themselves in emotional storms they don't know how to control. Still, my heart remembers the love before the pain. It remembers the way your presence once calmed my anxious thoughts. It remembers how safe your voice made me feel after difficult days. It remembers those nights when we stayed awake talking about dreams, fears, and futures we thought we'd share together someday. Back then, forever didn't feel impossible. Back then, I truly believed life had finally given me someone who would stay. That's why your absence changed me so deeply. People don't realize how much love shapes a person until it disappears. Suddenly, everything becomes quieter. Colors lose brightness. Happiness feels incomplete. You move through life carrying invisible wounds nobody else can see. And the hardest part is pretending you're okay while your heart still searches for someone who no longer belongs to your world. Sometimes I ask myself if you ever miss me the way I miss you, if your heart ever becomes heavy when you think about what we lost. If there are nights when you stare at your phone wanting to reach out but stop yourself because too much time has passed. Maybe pride keeps you silent. Maybe fear does. Or maybe you've convinced yourself that our story is truly over, but my heart refuses to believe that love this real can disappear completely. Because what we had wasn't shallow. It wasn't temporary excitement or lonely attachment. It was deeper than that. It was two souls finding comfort in each other during a world that often felt cold and exhausting. And connections like that don't vanish easily. They linger, quietly, painfully, beautifully. I still remember the promises we made during our happiest moments, the way we spoke about growing older together, the little dreams we created out of simple conversations. We imagined ordinary things, peaceful mornings, long drives, laughing over small nonsense after difficult days. Those dreams felt real because they included you, and losing them felt like mourning a future that never got the chance to exist. There's a particular kind of sadness that comes from unfinished love, no final closure, no complete goodbye. Just two hearts drifting apart, while still carrying feelings they never fully stopped having. And maybe, that's us. Maybe somewhere inside you, there's still a part that remembers me with softness instead of pain, because despite everything, I still remember you with love, not the perfect version of you. Not an imaginary version. I remember your flaws too, your fears, your emotional walls, your moments of silence. But real love isn't about loving perfection. It's about loving someone in their fragile, human form and choosing them anyway. And I chose you in ways you may never fully understand. I chose you in my prayers, in my hopes, in every future I imagined. Even now, after all this time, there's still a quiet part of me that hopes life brings us back together somehow. Not because I'm weak, not because I can't survive without you, but because some loves feel unfinished when they end too soon. You taught me things no one else ever did. You taught me that vulnerability isn't weakness. You taught me that even guarded hearts crave connection. You taught me that love can feel both healing and terrifying at the same time. And even though losing you broke something inside me, loving you also awakened parts of my soul that had been asleep for years. That's why forgetting you feels impossible. You became part of my emotional language. Part of the way I understand love itself. Every meaningful moment after you somehow carries your shadow, because you changed the way my heart experiences connection. And maybe somewhere deep inside, your heart remembers me too. Maybe there are moments when you suddenly think about my smile. Maybe certain late-night memories still make your chest feel heavy. Maybe you still reread old conversations when loneliness becomes too loud. Maybe you still wonder if we could fix things if we had tried a little harder. I wonder that too. I wonder what would have happened if fear hadn't controlled us. If pride hadn't kept us silent, if we had fought for each other instead of against each other. Maybe we would still be together now. Maybe we'd still be sharing our lives, instead of carrying memories alone. But, love stories like ours don't disappear quietly. They echo through time, through sleepless nights, through songs, through random moments that suddenly bring tears to your eyes without warning. And no matter how much life changes around us, there are certain people the heart never truly stops loving. You are that person for me. Even now. After everything. If you called my name with honesty in your voice, my heart would still recognize you instantly, because some connections go beyond ordinary love. They become part of your soul's history, and maybe that's why my heart still speaks your name like a prayer. Not because I worship the pain. Not because I'm trapped in the past, but because loving you changed me in ways words can barely explain. You became the kind of memory that stays alive inside a person forever, quietly existing beneath every smile, every lonely night, every hopeful thought about destiny and second chances. And if somewhere out there, your heart still whispers my name too, then maybe our story was never truly meant to end in silence. Every day, I wake up and pretend that life feels normal without you. I move through conversations, responsibilities, crowded places, and ordinary moments with a calm face, as if my heart has already accepted your absence. To the world, I probably look fine, maybe even strong, but there are battles people never see, there are wounds silence hides beautifully, and the truth is, no matter how much time passes, there is still a part of me waiting for you in ways I cannot explain, not desperately, not selfishly, just honestly. Because, when love touches the soul deeply, it doesn't disappear overnight. It stays alive in quiet corners of the heart, surviving through memories, through hope, through the smallest reminders of the person who once meant everything. You were never temporary to me. That's what makes this so difficult. Some people enter our lives for moments. Others become part of our entire emotional world. You became part of mine so naturally, that I never imagined a future where your voice would become a memory instead of a comfort. I never imagined mornings where I'd reach for my phone and realize there's no message from you waiting anymore. I never imagined silence could feel this heavy. But life changes people. Circumstances change people. Sometimes two hearts love each other deeply and still lose their way. And maybe that's what happened to us. Maybe we allowed pain, fear, misunderstandings, and pride to speak louder than the love we quietly carried for each other. Still, even after everything, my heart remembers you with tenderness instead of regret. I remember the warmth in your presence. I remember how peaceful life felt during those moments when it was just us against the world. I remember the softness hidden behind your strong side. The vulnerability you only showed when you truly trusted me. Those are the things I carry with me now. Not the arguments, not the distance, not the painful ending, because love this real deserves to be remembered gently. Sometimes late at night, when the world finally becomes quiet, I find myself thinking about all the things I never got to say properly. How much you truly mattered to me. How deeply you changed me. How even the broken parts of our story still mean something beautiful to my heart. You taught me that love isn't always loud. Sometimes it exists in silence, in patience, in small gestures nobody else notices. Sometimes love is simply the feeling of being understood by one person in a world that constantly misunderstands you. And with you, I felt understood. That's rare. People spend years searching for emotional safety. Searching for someone who sees beyond appearances and touches the soul instead of just the surface. I found that with you. And losing it felt like losing a home I didn't realize I depended on so much. There were days after we drifted apart when I honestly thought I'd never recover emotionally. Everything reminded me of you. Songs sounded different, nights felt longer. Even happiness carried sadness inside it, because somewhere deep down, I wished you were there to experience life beside me. And maybe that sounds dramatic to some people, but those people have probably never loved someone with their entire heart before. They've never stared at old messages just to feel close to someone again. They've never whispered someone's name into empty rooms because missing them became too painful to keep inside. I did. And maybe part of me still does. Because, despite all the effort to move forward, my soul still searches for traces of you everywhere. In familiar places. In certain songs. In random moments where your melody suddenly appears without warning. It's strange how one person can leave such a permanent mark on another human being. Sometimes I wonder if you feel it too. If there are nights when you suddenly think about us and become quiet. If your heart still softens when my name crosses your mind. If somewhere beneath your strength and silence, there's still a version of you that misses what we had. I hope there is, not because I want you to suffer. Never that, but because it would mean our love was real for you too. It would mean I wasn't the only one whose heart held on to something after the ending. You know, people often talk about heartbreak as if it's only pain. But nobody talks enough about the beauty hidden inside genuine love. Even when it ends, it leaves behind lessons, memories, emotional depth. Loving you changed the way I see life. It made me softer, more patient, more aware of how precious connection truly is. Before you, I didn't fully understand how powerful emotional intimacy could be. I didn't understand how one person's voice could calm anxiety, or how one person's absence could create so much emptiness. But now I do, and honestly, if I could go back and relive every moment with you again, even knowing how painful the ending would become, I still would, because you were worth it. Every laugh. Every late-night conversation. Every emotional moment where our walls came down and we showed each other our real selves. Those memories remain some of the most genuine parts of my life. That's why my heart still waits quietly. Not in a way that stops me from living, but in a way that still believes some stories deserve another chapter. Some people deserve another chance to love each other correctly. After life teaches them what they almost lost. Maybe we met at the wrong time. Maybe we were emotionally wounded people trying to love while fighting our own internal battles. Maybe we needed distance to understand the value of what we had. I don't know, but what I do know is this. My feelings for you were never fake. Even now, after all the silence between us, there's still honesty in my love. There's still sincerity when I think about you. I still want peace for your soul, happiness for your future, healing for the pain you carry inside yourself. That's real love. Real love doesn't disappear just because circumstances become difficult. Sometimes it transforms into quiet longing, into distant care, into memories carried gently for years, and if life never brings us back together again, I think a part of me will always belong to the version of us that once loved each other so deeply. The version that believed forever was possible, the version that found comfort in each other during lonely nights and difficult days, because no matter where life takes me, no matter how much I grow or change, my heart will always remember the way it felt to be loved by you, and somewhere beneath all my smiles, all my strength, all my attempts to move forward, there will always remain a quiet space inside me where your name still lives softly like an unfinished prayer.